Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV News. Now, before the break, we had asked you to engage in this discussion on Twitter. And at Joski Shams on Twitter says, there's nothing like preparedness in this transition. I don't understand how junior school pupils has to change the uniform color within the same school. CBC is too expensive to some parents. I mean, how can you comment on this?
It is true, because actually if we are domiciling junior secondary and primary schools, then the children should have just continued with what they were doing, with the same uniforms and the same management. Do you know the government is talking of different uniforms? It's talking of, like, I think after 1 year, they are talking of having a different, totally different kind of outside for the junior secondary. They are talking of building even an office for the new, they'll bring new head teachers. They'll take new teachers to those schools, in primary schools. There's a lot of confusion, my brother.
Yeah.
The easiest route will have been for the government to take the children to secondary schools. And then the parents will just know that my child is now in secondary school and buy the uniform once and maybe change if the children continue growing. So now that we are here, you see, now we are just forced to live with what we have, and everybody tried to find their way out.
Yeah, before the break, you talked about teachers.
Yes.
And actually, the Kenya National Union of Teachers has raised the flag on a teacher deficiency to successfully handle the junior secondary school.
Yes.
Do you think it's the case? There were 30,000 teachers who are supposed to be recruited early this year.
Yes.
Have they been recruited? What's the plan like?
The situation is so dire because the recruitment is not yet complete, the process. A few teachers have had their letters, they have received their letters. Majority of them haven't received. Today, I've done my research on the ground. Actually, almost all the public primary schools haven't received the teachers for the junior secondary. Now, the major problem is the number of teachers, because the government is talking of only 1 teacher per school. There are 14 learning areas or subjects as we know them. Now, how will 1 teacher handle the 14? And then the government, TSC, tries to talk about there are other teachers with diploma and degree in primary schools. They haven't recruited them, or they haven't upgraded them. We had a whole holiday of 2 to 3 months. They should have done that so that when opening happens like now, the teachers are ready. But that's not the situation. So I don't understand why we are dealing with these issues in that way, and yet it affects directly the lives of millions of learners.
Yeah. Let's talk about the psychological aspect for these grade 7 learners.
Yes.
Most of them were expecting to go to new schools.
Yes.
Maybe some of them were tired.
Yes.
You know, seeing the same teachers.
Yes.
You know, they wanted to go to another environment. I mean, how is this for them?
It is a challenge, and most of the schools are really to employ some kind of psychosocial support for the children. Unfortunately, even that person to do that is not there, because even the teachers to teach them anything is not there. So in Kenya, you just have to survive. The children will just learn to survive, because as you say rightly, when they were doing their final exams, they were telling other children in their schools, "Kwaheri tuonane, sisi tumeenda secondary." You know, they were bragging to class 7s and 8. "We are leaving you here, we are going to secondary, you are in primary." So, but they have gone back to the same schools. It's so unfortunate, but I think we just have to live with it. The right thing for the government to do, and I keep repeating, my brother, is that let these things be in the transition period. Let them give it around up to the time 844 is over. Then once 844 is over, let them take these children to secondary schools. It will be the easiest route. Professor Mago had built at least 1 classroom, and there were labs. And there are teachers. It will have been easier. So all these problems the government is just forcing itself into, I do not understand why.
Well, talking of psychological issues, and there's this group of learners, the class 8 now.
Yes.
They are the top class in primary school. But then we also have the junior secondary school, who are also the pioneers of the junior secondary school, and they're also the, you know, there's that battle. You remember the Form 3, Form 4 battle in high school. Now we have class 8 and the junior secondary.
So we have class 8 in primary, but grade 7 in secondary school. But let me tell you, maybe the children might not understand, but the people who are happy today are those class 8s. Because for them, 844 is defined. Yes. In fact, many of the people, parents and all the others are saying, I wish to learn 844. And the reason why they are saying that is because 844 is defined. At least they know that from class 8, they are sure they go to secondary school. From there, they go to university. This one of junior secondary is not known, it's not definite. So even if they try to laugh at each other, at the end of the day, the class 8 is better off. Yeah, because his or her path is defined.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as we conclude, the Education Task Force is set to give its final report in the month of March this year to President William Ruto. Now, as an education expert, what are your expectations of this report? What do you want to see in this report?
Yes. I want to see the task force recommending to the president that this kind of confusion is here only for the transition period. After the 844 is done, we have the last batch of class 8. Once they go up to Form 4, I expect junior secondary to go to secondary schools. If there are places like in those hardship areas, the arid areas and semi-arid, where secondary schools are so far apart, the government can come in and do something specifically for them. But generally the country, it will have been easy. We can even decide to take all of them to day schools, but secondary, because the infrastructure is there. All this rushing up and down is not helpful. And I know the president means well, having been just, elected, he's still new in office. And so he needs to be guided in the right direction. And I believe maybe the major beneficiaries here could be maybe private schools, because for them they are well set. Most of them, especially the high end, they are well set, they have their teachers, they have their infrastructure. But now in public schools, which has the majority of learners, it's a bit of a problem. So let the task force advise the president in the right way, because I'm sure the president is ready and willing to do what he shall be told to do. But now when they mislead him and tell them that we are talking about junior secondary, and then the children are in primary, what is that, my friend? That's confusion.
Many have said that the 844 system was better. Do you think maybe we can, as a country, go back to the 844 system, or the ship has already sailed?
Now, okay, comparatively, CBC is better, because CBC is about the competencies and the skills. For example, you are a news anchor, and you are doing a lot of mathematics and chemistry and physics, and which you might not be applying in life now. Just the same way, there's another person who's a mathematician, but they could be having a problem with the languages and all those things. So the beauty with the CBC is that it wants to try and bring out the competencies in each person. If you have a good talent, like in drawing and all the other things, you go there, so that you are not bogged down by these hard academic issues. That's the beauty with the CBC. The problem with 844 is that it's just theoretical. You have to cram those things, then apply in the exams. And after exams, you cannot remember anything. And most importantly, you are forced to do things that might not really help you in life. Like I have a very bad grade in mathematics myself, which is still laughing at me on my certificate. I do not apply it anywhere. I have very good grades in my Kiswahili and English and all that. So why was it necessary for me to be pushed to do mathematics? Why was it compulsory for my case? So that's why CBC is coming in to say, let's continue seeing your competencies as you continue. Yeah. Then at the senior level, you take what you call a pathway. Sure. A pathway is a route, where if you are a mathematician, you take the STEM route. If you are a language person, like you now in the media and all that, you take the social sciences and languages are there. If you are somebody who is good in maybe business or home science, you take the technical route. If you are not very academically gifted, but you have a very good talent, we take you where your talent is. That's where the CBC comes in as the best. And CBC has a lot of practical things. Today, children from CBC can brush their shoes, they can cook, because they are doing it at school. But 844 is just to end asubuhi, like now class 8. They are not going for breaks because of KCPE. So kuanzia asubuhi mpaka usiku, they are just in class, cramming and cramming and cramming and rudia theories and theories which do not help after school. And that's why if you ask a student who scored even an A in chemistry or in any subject, give them that paper 2 months or 1 month down the line, my friend, they'll score even an E. Because they were just cramming for the exam.
Cramming the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, as we conclude, any hope for the parent to feel like, they are overwhelmed by this CBC? It's very expensive for them. For the learner, who feel like it's too much for them. Any hope for them?
Yes. We need to live in a world full of hope, because where there's no hope, many things will die off. So the hope I have is that we have a government, and at the end of the day, the government will try to do something for the children. So let us just be hopeful. Let us keep talking so that the government listens. I know they are watching us. There are people are watching us tonight. Let them advise the government accordingly. If there are no teachers in primary schools, let them rescind this decision. It's not late, and take the children to secondary schools. It will help. And then we continue with our learning But this government talking about building a lab, a good science lab, in every public institution. I don't know how many ages or years it will take. Anyway, let us be hopeful and pray that the government, especially the president, you know, the backstops are the presidency.
Yeah.
Let us hope that the president will see these things and do what is right for our children.
Well, let us be hopeful. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dunston Bobea, for the great insights on the CBC curriculum and junior secondary school in particular.
Asante.
Well, that has been Dunston Bobea, who is an academic consultant at Ramani Africa Educational Services. And thank you so much for tuning in to that discussion.